So last week I challenged myself to get 300 likes on a tweet, and I ended up getting 350. And the challenge was that if it got 300 likes, I'd read the entire Filament PHP docs on a live stream. Now, I will be honest, if it takes more than 8 hours, I may end up pausing the live stream and doing it tomorrow as well. I will get through the whole docs though, but I may do some of it over 2 live streams. But if it isn't going to take that long, then I'll set aside 8 hours, give or take today, as long as I can physically manage to go through the whole live stream, and we will see how far we get. So I wonder if you guys have an opinion. Do you think, I'll put a poll out, do you think it would take me 1 hour, 3 hours, 5 hours, or an entire 8 hours to read the entire Filament docs? So do let me know what you think about that, how long it will take. So Filament PHP, before we get started, is basically using ToolStack. It is sort of like an admin panel builder, and you can use it to build apps quickly and fast with different features in it. So let's get started with the documentation. So let's see what we got before we go through all of these pages here. So we have all of these sections to go through, and it's probably gonna take a very long time to go through, but I think at least an hour. I hope I don't make too many mistakes pronouncing things or anything like that, but let's see how far we get. So, introduction. What is Filament? Introduction. Filament is a server-driven UI SDUI framework for Laravel. It allows you to define user interfaces entirely in PHP using structured configuration objects rather than traditional templating. Built on top of Livewire, Alpine.js, and Tailwind CSS, Filament empowers you to build full-featured interfaces like admin panels, dashboards, and form-based apps, all without writing custom JavaScript or front-end code. What is server-driven UI? SDUI is a proven architecture used by companies like Meta, Airbnb, and Shopify. It moves control of the UI to the server, allowing for faster iteration, greater consistency, and centralized logic. Filament embraces this pattern for web development, letting you define interfaces declaratively using PHP classes that are rendered into HTML by the server. One key distinction to note is the difference between server-driven UI, SDUI, and server-rendered UI. While both approaches involve rendering content on the server, server-rendered UI relies on static templates like traditional blade views, where the structure and behavior of the UI are defined upfront in HTML or PHP files. In contrast, SDUI gives the server the power to dynamically generate UI based on real-time configurations and business logic, allowing for more flexibility and reactivity without needing to modify front-end templates directly. Thousands of developers use Filament to add admin panels to the Laravel application, but it goes beyond that. You can use Filament to build custom dashboards, user portals, CIMs, or even full applications with multiple panels. It integrates seamlessly with any front-end stack and work especially well alongside tools like Inertia.js, Livewire, and Blade. If you're already using Blade views in your Filament app, Filament components can enhance them too. You can drop Livewire components powered by Filament into any Blade view or root, and use the same schema-based builders for forms, tables, and more, all without switching your entire stack. And just to add to this, I think when it comes to Filament, there's some amazing apps built with it. I power my website, as an example, with Filament, and the whole backend is basically managed there. I use it as the admin panel builder to add courses and all of that. On top of that, I built, along with someone else, a fishing management club system called Club Nest, which allows you to manage your fishing club. So there's tons of applications out there which uses Filament PHP. Let's continue on though. Packages. The core Filament comprises several packages. Filament/filament, the core packages for building panels, e.g. admin panels. This requires all other packages since panels often use many of their features. Filament/tables, a data table builder that allows you to render an interactive table with filtering, sorting, pagination, and more. Filament/schemas, a package that allows you to build UIs using an array of component PHP objects as configuration. This is used by many features in Filament to render UI. The package includes a base set of components that allows you to render content. Filament/forms, a set of filament schema components for a large variety of form inputs, complete with integrated validation. Filament/infolists, a set of filament schema components for rendering description list. An infolist consists of entries which are key value UI elements that can present read-only information like text, icons, and images. The data for an infolist can be sourced from anywhere, but commonly comes from an individual eloquent record. Filament/actions, actions objects encapsulate the UI for a button, an interactive model, the window that can be opened by the button, and the logic that should be executed when the model window is submitted. They can be used anywhere in the UI and are commonly used to perform one-time actions like deleting a record, sending an email, or updating data in database on a model form input. Filament/notifications, an easy way to send notifications to users in your app UI. You can send flash notification that appears immediately after a request to the server, a database notification which is stored in the database and rendered in a slide over model the user can open on demand, or broadcast notification that is sent to the user in a real time over a WebSocket connection. Filament/widgets, a set of dashboard widgets that can render anything, often statistical data, charts, numbers, tables, and completely custom widgets, which can be rendered in a dashboard using this package. Filament/support, this package contains a set of shared UI components and utilities used by all other packages. Users don't commonly install this directly, as it is a dependency of all other packages. Plugins. Filament is designed to be highly extensible, allowing you to add your own UI component and features to the framework. These extensions can live inside your code base if they're specifically to your application, or be distributed as a composer packages. If the general purpose in the Filament ecosystem, these composer packages are called plugins, and hundreds are available from the community. The Filament team also officially maintains several plugins that provide integration with popular third-party packages in the Laravel ecosystem. The vast majority of plugins in the ecosystem are open source and free to use. Some premium plugins are available for purchase, often offering enhanced customer support and quality. Note: plugins are not maintained by Filament team, are created and managed by independent authors. While these plugins can enhance your experience, Filament cannot guarantee the quality, security, compatibility, or maintenance. We recommend reviewing the plugin's code, documentation, and user feedback before installation. You can browse an extensive list of the community plugins on the Filament website by clicking the link here. So it's basically just on the plugins, and you have the different versions, and you have the list here. But enough of that. Let's try to see if we can go back to... Okay, let's go back to the documentation instead, because that seems to be stuff. Customizing the appearance. Tailwind CSS is a utility-based CSS framework that Filament uses as a token-based design system. Although Filament does not use Tailwind CSS utility classes directly into HTML rendered by its components, it compiles Tailwind utilities into semantic CSS. These semantic classes can be targeted by Filament users with their own CSS to modify the appearance of components, creating a thin layer of overrides on top of the default Filament design. A simple example demonstrating the power of this system is changing the border radius of all the buttons components in Filament. By default, the following CSS code is used in the Filament code base to style buttons using Tailwind utility classes. So we have FI, button, curly brackets, apply, rounded, large, px3, pyt, py2, text small, font medium, outline none. and curly brackets. To decrease the border radius in Tailwind CSS, you can apply the round SM small utility class to .fibtn in your own CSS file. .fibtn curly brackets apply rounded small and curly brackets. This overrides the default rounded large class with rounded SM for all buttons in Filament while preserving the other styling properties of the button. This system provides a high level of flexibility to customize the appearance of Filament components without needing to write a complete custom style sheet or maintain copies of HTML for each component. For more information about customizing the appearance of Filament, visit the customizing styling documentation, which we'll get to later, and go through that. Testing. The core packages in Filament undergo unit testing to ensure stability across releases. As a Filament user, you can write tests for applications built with the framework. Filament provides utilities for testing both functionality and UI components. Compatible with either PEST or PHP unit test suites, testing is particularly crucial when customizing framework or implementing custom functionality, though it's also valuable for verifying basic functionality works as intended. For more information about testing Filament application, visit the testing documentation. Alternatives to Filament. If you're reading this and concluding that Filament might be the right choice for your project, that's okay. There are many other excellent projects on the Laravel ecosystem that might be a better fit for your needs. Here are a few we really like. Filament sounds too complicated. Laravel Nova is an easy way to build an admin panel for your Laravel application. It's an official project maintained by the Laravel team, and purchasing it helps support the development of the Laravel framework. I do not want to use Livewire to customize anything. Many parts of Filament do not require you to touch Livewire at all, but building custom components might. Laravel Nova is built with Vue.js and Inertia.js, which might be a better fit for your project if it requires extensive customization and you have experience with these tools. I need an out-of-the-box content management system, or also called CMS. Statmatic is a CMS built on Laravel. It's a great choice if you need a CMS that's easy to set up and use, and you don't need to build a custom admin panel. I just want to write blade views and handle the backend myself. Flux is the official Livewire UI kit and ships as part of a pre-built and pre-styled blade components. It is maintained by the same team that maintain Livewire and Alpine.js, and purchasing it helps support the development of these projects. Edit on GitHub. Still need help? Join our Discord community or open a GitHub discussion. That's the first page. Filament requires the following to run: PHP 8.2, Laravel v11.28 or higher, Tailwind CSS v4.0 or higher. Installation comes in the two flavors depending on whether you want to build an app or using our admin panel builder, or use the components within your app's blade views. Panel builder. Most people choose this option to build a panel, e.g. admin panel. For the app, the panel builder combines all the individual components into a cohesive framework. You can create as many panels as you like within a Laravel installation, but you only need to install it once. And then there's individual components. If you're using Blade to build your app from scratch, you can install individual components from Filament to enrich your UI. Let's start with the panel builder and move on to the individual components. Installing the app panel builder. Install the Filament panel builder by running the following commands in your Laravel project directory. Composer require filament/filament : 4.0 or higher. PHP artisan install Filament install panels. Note: when using Windows PowerShell to install Filament, you may need to run the command below since it ignores the character in version constraints. Composer require filament/filament, PHP artisan Filament install panels. This will create and register a new Laravel service provider, app provider's Filament admin panel provider. Tip: if you get an error when accessing a panel, check that the service provider is registered in bootstrap/providers.php. If it's not registered, you will need to add it manually. You can create a new user account using the following account: PHP Artisan make filament user. Open /admin in your web browser, sign in, and start building your app. And then let's go to individual components. Installing the individual components. Install the filament components you want to use with Composer. Composer requires filament/tables, filament/schemas, filament/forms, filament/infolist, filament/actions, filament/notification, filament/widgets. You can install additional packages later in your project without having to repeat these installation steps. Note: when using Windows PowerShell to install Filament, you may need to run the command below since it ignores the characters in version constraints. Composer requires filament/tables, filament/schemas, filament/form, filament/infolist, filament/actions, filament/notification, filament/widgets. If you only want to use the set of blade UI components, you will need to require filament/support at this stage. New Laravel project. To quickly set up Filament in a new Laravel project, run the following command to install Livewire, Alpha.js, and Tailwind CSS. Run the following command: PHP Artisan filament install scaffold, and npm install npm run dev. Existing project. Run the following command to install Filament frontend assets: PHP Artisan filament install. Installing Tailwind CSS. Run the following command to install Tailwind CSS and its Vibe plugin if you don't have those installed already. npm install Tailwind CSS npm install Tailwind CSS, add Tailwind CSS/vide, save dev. Configuring styles. To configure filament styles, you need to import the CSS files for your filament packages you installed, usually in resources/css/app.css. Depending on which combination of packages you install, you can import only the necessary CSS files to keep your app's CSS bundle size small. Add import Tailwind CSS, add import // vendor filament support resources CSS index.css. I guess I also have to read the comments. Required by all components. Required by actions and tables. Required by the actions, forms, and tables. Add import // vendor filament forms resources CSS index.css. Required by actions and info lists. Add import // vendor filament infolist resources CSS index.css. Required by notifications. Add import // vendor filament notification resources CSS index.css. Required by actions, infolist, forms, schemas, and tables. Add import // vendor filament schemas resources CSS index.css. Required by tables. Add import // vendor filament tables resources CSS index.css. Required by widgets. Add import // vendor filament widgets resources CSS.index.css. Add variant dark and :where .dark .dark star. Configuring the Vibe plugin. If it isn't already set up, add the Tailwind CSS/Vibe plugin to your Vibe configuration using vibe.config.js. Import define config from Vibe. Import Laravel from Laravel Vibe plugin. Import Tailwind CSS. Add Tailwind Vibe. Export default config plugins Laravel. Input resources CSS app.css. Resources JS app.js. Refresh true. Tailwind CSS. Compiling assets. Compile new CSS and JavaScript assets using npm run dev. Configuring your layout. If you don't have a blade layout file yet, create it at resources/views components layouts after blade.php by running the following command: PHP Artisan livewire layout. Add the following code to your new layout file. Okay, so we have doctype HTML, HTML lang, stl replace, underscore dash app get local, head, meta character set, UTF-8, meta name, application name, content, curly brackets twice, config app.name, end of curly brackets, meta name, CSRF token, content, CSRF token, meta name, viewport content width equal device width initial scale equal 1, title, config app.name, style, xcloak, display not important, end of curly brackets, filament styles, write resources CSS app.css, end of head, body, class, analyze, slot, livewire notifications, filament scripts, write resources JS app.js, end of body, end of HTML. The important parts of this are the filament styles in the head of the layout and the filament scripts at the end of the body. Make sure you to also include your apps compiled CSS and JavaScript files from the Vite. Note, the livewire notifications line is required in the layout only if you have the notifications package installed and want to send flash notifications to users through Filament. Okay, finally at the third page. This is gonna be a fun day. Optimizing local development. This section includes optional tips to optimize performance when running your Filament app locally. If you're looking for production-specific optimizations, check out Deployment to Production. Enabling OP Cache. OP Cache improves PHP performance by storing precompiled script bytecode in shared memory, thereby removing the need for PHP to lead and pass scripts on each request. This can significantly speed up your local development environment, especially for larger applications. Check OP Cache status. To check if OP Cache is enabled, run php-r echo opcache.enable iniget opcache enable php EOL. You should see opcache.enable equals 1, if not, by adding the following line to your php.ini file. Tip: to locate your php.ini file, run php ini and configuring OP Cache settings. If you're experiencing slow response times or suspect that OP Cache is running out of space, you can adjust these parameters in your php.ini file. OP Cache memory consumption equals 128. OP Cache max accelerated files equals 1000. Tip: to locate your php.ini file, run php.ini file. This is actually showing twice here. Is that meant to? I don't think that's needed to show this twice. This seems like it's a duplicate. Alright. OP-cache.memory consumption defines how much memory in megabytes OP-cache can use to store precompiled PHP code. You can try setting this to 128 and adjust based on your project's needs. OP-cache.max accelerate files sets the maximum number of PHP files that OP-cache can catch. You can try up to 10,000 starting point and increase if your application includes a larger number of files. These settings are optional but useful if you're troubleshooting performance or working on a large Laravel app. See, I've actually not tried to use OP-cache for my local development before, so maybe I should try to enable that and see how that goes. I think I'm going to learn a lot of things about Filament in here that I just didn't know about by going through this entire documentation, which I think is going to take closer to 8 hours. But I think what I'll do once this live stream is over, I'm going to cut through it all and I'm going to publish it as a video that's a bit shorter. Exclude your projects folder from antivirus scanning. Issues with performance of Filament, particularly on Windows, often involve Microsoft Defender. Security software such as a real-time file scanners or antivirus tool can slow down your development environment by scanning files every time they're accessed. This can affect PHP execution, view rendering, and performance in general. If you're noticing slowness, consider excluding your local project folder from real-time scanning. Tools like Microsoft Defender or similar antivirus solutions can be configured to skip specific directories. Check your antivirus or security software documentation for instructions on how to exclude specific folders from real-time scanning. Note, only exclude folders from scanning if you fully trust the project and understand the risks. So, just to take a moment off, I ask you how long you think it would take me to read the documentation. 67% of you say 8 hours, 33% say 1 hour. Well, we're already 24 minutes in, and I haven't even gotten past the introduction set yet, so it's gonna take a while. Disabling debugging tools. Debugging tools can be very useful for local development, but they can be significantly slow down your application when you aren't using them. Temporarily disabling these tools when you need maximum performance can make a noticeable difference in your development experience. Good morning to Dave 1719. Disabling view debugging in Lavalherd. Lavalherd includes a view debugging tool for macOS and Windows. It shows which views were rendered and what data was passed to them during a request. While helpful for debugging, this feature can significantly slow down your app if you're not actively using it. It's best to turn off. To disable view debugging in Herd, open Herd, dumps, click Settings, uncheck the Views option. Disabling debug bar. While useful for debugging, Lava debug bar can slow down your application, especially on complex pages. It collects and renders a large amount of data on each request. If you're noticing slowness, try disabling it by adding the following line to your .env file. Debug bar enabled equals false. If you still need a debug bar for development, consider disabling specific collectors you're not using. Refer to the debug bar documentation for details. Disabling Xdebug. Xdebug is a powerful tool for debugging, but it can significantly slow down your performance if you notice performance issues. Check if Xdebug is installed and consider disabling it. If Xdebug is installed but you not disabled, it will still be enabled by default. If you have installed, make sure it is explicitly disabled in your php.ini file. Xdebug mode off. Tip: to locate your php.ini file, run php.ini. Catching blade icons. Catching blade icons can help improve performance during local development, especially in views that render many icons. To enable catching, run PHP Artisan icons catch. Make sure that when you install new blade icon packages, you run the command again to discover the new icons. I'm not going to continuously read this on the bottom here because this is probably on every single page. Introduction help. We offer various support options, mostly free of charge if you need help. The community is here for you. Discord. We are fortunate to have a growing community of Filament users that help each other out on Discord server. Join now is free. We also have many dedicated channels in different languages. Currently we have channels in the following languages. We have one in Arabic, German, Spanish, Farsi, French, Indonesian, Italian, Korean, Dutch, Portuguese, Turkish. If you're missing a channel for your language, please let us know and we will create one for you. GitHub. You can also reach out to us on our GitHub discussion forum, where community members and core team members are happy to help you out. If you find a bug, you can open an issue and donate to the bug fix by using the link automatically added to the bottom of every new issue description. If you have a feature request, you can create a discussion on GitHub following these instructions, which I guess we will go to later. So if you're not planning to contribute the feature yourself, but the core team adds it to the roadmap, an issue will be created. You can sometimes fast-track development of a new feature by donating money to it using the link added to the bottom of the issue description. One-on-one private support and consulting paid. If you're looking for dedicated help with your filament project, we're here for you. Whether you're a sole developer or running a large company, we provide support and development service that fits your needs. More information can be found on our consulting page. Google. Since we make use of Answer Overflow on our Discord server, you're often one Google search away from finding an answer to your question, at least a hint on how to solve your problem. You may also find results from GitHub, the Larcast forum, or even Stack Overflow, helping others. We encourage you to join any of the above platforms and help yourself and our community. Additionally, we encourage you to contribute to Filament itself. We are always looking for new contributors to help improve Filament. Version support policy. Introduction. Version 1 ended in January 2022. Bug fixes ended in January 2025. Security fixes ended on July 1st, 25. 2.x ended in July 23 for new features, and for bug fixes it ended in January 1, 25, and security fixes ended in January 1, 26. 3. Ended in 1st of August 24 for new features, and until August 26 there will be bug fixes, and until January 28 security fixes. 4.x until 5 is stable release. They will continue releasing new features, and version 5 is already out with Livewire 4, but it's in very early stages, so it's not really stable yet. 1 year after 5.x, stable releases for bug fixes, and security fixes will be 2 years after 5.x stable release. New features. Pull requests for new features are only accepted for the latest major version, except in special circumstances. Once a new major version is released, the Filament team will no longer accept pull requests for new features in previous versions. Any open pull requests will either be redirected to target the latest major version or closed, depending on conflicts with the new target branch. Bug fixes. After a major version is released, the Filament team will continue to merge pull requests for bug fixes in the previous major version for a year. After this period, pull requests for that version will no longer be accepted. The Filament team processes bug reports for supported versions in chronological order, though critical bugs may be prioritized. Bug fixes are typically developed only for the latest major version. However, contributors can backport fixes to other supported versions by submitting pull requests. Security fixes. The Filament team currently plans to continue providing security fixes for major versions for at least 2 years. If you discover a security vulnerability in Filament, please report it through GitHub. All security vulnerabilities will be addressed promptly. Please note that while a Filament version may be received, security fixes its underlying dependencies PHP, Laravel, and Livewire may no longer be supported. Therefore, applications using older versions of Filament could still be vulnerable to security issues in these dependencies. I just want to check if there's anything on Twitter. Alright, just gonna see if there's any interesting info. Introduction, contributing. Note: part of this guide are adopted from Laravel's contribution guide, which served as a valuable inspiration. Reporting box. If you discover a bug in Filament, please report it by opening an issue GitHub on our GitHub repository. Before opening an issue, search through the existing issues to check if the bug has already been reported. Please include as much information as possible, particularly the version numbers of packages in your application. You can use artisan command in your application to open a new issue with all the correct versions automatically pre-filled. PHP artisan make filament issue. When creating an issue, we require a reproduction repository. Please do not link to your actual project. Instead, what we need is a minimal reproduction in a fresh project without any unnecessary code. This means it doesn't matter if your real project is private, confidential, since we want a link to a separate isolated reproduction. This allows us to fix the problem much quicker. Issues will be automatically closed and not reviewed if this is missing. To preserve maintaining time and ensure the process is fair for those who put effort into reporting. If you believe a reproduction repository is not suitable for the issue, which is a very rare case, please add down Heron and explain why. Saying it's just a simple issue is not an excuse for not creating a repository. Need a head start? We have a template filament project for you. Remember, bug reports are created in the hope that others with the same will be able to collaborate with you on solving it. Do not expect that the bug report will automatically receive attention or that others will jump to fix it. Creating a bug report serves to help yourself and others to start on the path of fixing the problem. Okay, development of new features. If you'd like to propose a new feature or improvement to a filament, you may use our discussion forum hosted on GitHub. If you intend to implement the feature yourself in a pull request, we advise you to add Dan Heron, a core maintainer of filament, in your feature discussion beforehand and ask if it is suitable for the framework to prevent wasting your time. Development of plugins. If you'd like to develop a plugin for filament, please refer to the plugin development section in the documentation. Our Discord server is also a great place to ask questions and get help with plugin development. You can start a conversation in the plugin developers chat channel. You can also submit your plugin to be advertised on the filament website. Developing with a local copy of filament. If you want to contribute to the filament packages, then you may want to test it in a real Laravel project. Fork the GitHub repository to your GitHub account. Create a Laravel app locally. Clone your fork into your Laravel app root directory. In the /filament directory, create a branch for your fix, e.g. /fix error message. Install the packages in your Laravel composer.json file. Require filament/filament, municipality dev, repositories, type path, URL, filament packages, star. And now run composer update. Once you're finished making these changes, you can commit them and submit a pull request to the GitHub repository. Checking for outdated translations. To check for outdated translations, you can use our translation tool, clone the filament repository, install the dependency for the commands, and then run the command. Git clone filament php filament.git compose install bin translation tool.php. First select list outdated translation as the command and then choose the locale you want to check. This command will show you which translations are missing for the specified local. You can then submit a pull request when the missing translation to the GitHub repository. Security vulnerability. If you discover a security vulnerability within filament, please report it through GitHub. All security vulnerabilities will be promptly addressed. Please see our version support policy to understand which versions are currently under maintenance. Code of conduct. Please note the filament is released with a contributor code of conduct. By participating in the project, you agree to abide by its terms. I mean, this is technically part of the documentation, not on the website, so we may as well go ahead with that. Contributor convenient code of conduct, our pledge. In the interest of fostering an open and welcoming environment, we as contributors and maintainers pledge to making participation in our project and our community a harassment-free experience for everyone, regardless of age, body size, disability, ethnicity, sex characteristics, gender identity, and expression, level of experience, education, socioeconomic status, nationality, personal appearance, race, religion, or sexual identity and orientation. Our standards. Examples of behavior that contributes to creating a positive environment include using welcoming and inclusive language, being respectful of differing viewpoints and experiences, gracefully accepting constructive criticism, focusing on what is best for the community, showing empathy towards others, community members. Example of unacceptable behavior by participants include the use of sexualized language or imagery and unwelcome sexual attention or advances, trolling, insulting, derogatory comments, and personal or political attacks, public or private harassment, publishing private information such as physical address or electronic address without explicit permission, other conduct which could reasonably be considered inappropriate in a professional setting. Our responsibilities. Project maintainers are responsible for clarifying the standards of acceptable behavior and are expected to take appropriate and fair corrective action in response to any instances of unacceptable behavior. Project maintainers have the right and responsibility to remove, edit, or reject comments, commits code, wiki edits, issues, and other contributions that are not aligned to the code of conduct, or to ban temporarily or permanently any contributor for other behaviors that they deem inappropriate, threatening, offensive, or harmful. Scope. This code of conduct applies within the project spaces and in public spaces when an individual is representing the project or its community. Examples of representing a project or community include using an official project email address, posting by an official social media account, or acting as an appointed representative at an online event or offline event. Representing of a project may be further defined and clarified by project maintainers. Enforcement. Instances of abusive, harassing, or otherwise unacceptable behavior may be reported by contacting the project at admin.filamentphp.com. All complaints will be reviewed and investigated, and will solve a response that is deemed unnecessary and appropriate to the circumstances. The project team is obligated to maintain confidentiality with regard to the reporter of an incident. Further details of specific enforcement policies may be posted separately. Project maintainers who do not follow or enforce code of conduct in a good faith may face temporary or permanent repercussions as determined by other members of the project leadership. Attribution. This code of conduct is adopted from the Contributor Convenient version 1.4. For answers to common questions about this code of conduct, see the FAQs. Alright, then on to getting started, and then we're actually going on to more code related things. So I've taken about 40 minutes to get this far, so not even halfway through the list, but some of them are quite long, some of them are very short. Getting started. Once you've installed Filament, you can start building your application. Note, this is a guide for the Filament panel builder. If you're looking to use the Filament UI components or outside of a panel, visit component documentation. To start, visit /admin and sign in with a user account. You will be redirected to the default dashboard of the panel. Resources. Resources are the core for your Filament application. They are CRUD UIs for models that you want to manage in the panel. Out of the box, Filament will generate 3 pages in each resource list. A paginated table of all the records in the Eloquent model. Create a form to create a new record. Edit. A form to edit an existing record. You can also choose to generate a view page, which is a read-only display of a record. Each resource usually has an item in the sidebar, which is automatically registered as soon as you create a resource. To start your journey by creating a resource, visit the resources documentation. Widgets. Widgets is a component often used to build a dashboard, typically to display statistical data. Charts, numbers, tables, and completely custom widgets are supported. Each widget has a PHP class and a blade view. The PHP class is technically a Livewire component. As such, every widget has access to the full power of Livewire to build an interactive server-rendered UI. Out of the box, Filament's dashboard contains a couple of widgets, one which greets the user and follows them to sign out, and another which displays information about Filament. To start your journey by adding your own widgets to the dashboard, visit the widget documentation. Custom pages. Custom pages are a blank canvas for you to build whatever you want in your admin panel. They are often used for settings pages, documentation, or anything else you can think of. Each custom page has a PHP class and a blade view. The PHP class is technically a full-page Livewire component. In fact, every page class in a Filament panel is a Livewire component. As such, every page has access to the full power of Livewire to build an interactive server-rendered UI. Start your journey by creating a custom page. Visit the custom pages documentation. Okay, let's get on to resources. And this is gonna take equally as long as the introduction did. So, yeah, as I said, I am all for doing this whole documentation read, but I set a limit to do it in 8 hours per stream, and I'll do it over multiple streams until I finish it, if it ends up taking more than 8 hours. Or maybe a bit less, until I basically can't go on anymore and I just need a longer break. Resources overview, introduction. Resources are static classes that are used to build CRUD interfaces for your Eloquent models. They describe how administrators should be able to interact with data from your app using tables and forms. Creating a resource. To create a resource for the app/models/customer model, PHP Artisan make Filament resource customer. This will create several files in the app Filament resources directory. Customers, customer resource.php, pages, create customer.php, edit customer.php, list customers.php, schemas, customer form.php, tables, customers table.php. Your new resource class lives in a customer resource.php. The classes in the page directory are used to customize the pages in the app that interact with your resource. They're all a full page Livewire component that you can customize in any way you wish. The classes in the schemas directory are used to define the content of the forms and info lists for your resource. The classes in the tables directory are used to build the table for your resource. Tip: have you created a resource but it's not appearing in the navigation menu? If you have a model policy, make sure you return true from the view any method. Simple model resource. Sometimes your models are simple enough that you only want to manage records on one page, using models to create, edit, and delete records. To generate a simple resource with models, PHP Artisan make Filament resource customer simple. Your resource will have a manage page, which is a list of page with models ahead. Additionally, your simple resource will have no get relations method, as relation managers are only displayed on the edit and view pages, which are not present in simple resources. Everything else is the same. Automatically generating forms and tables. If you'd like to save time, Filament can automatically generate the form and table for you based on your model's database columns using --generate. PHP Artisan make Filament resource customers --generate, handling soft deletes. By default, you will not be able to interact with deleted records in the app. If you'd like to add functionality to restore, force delete, and filter trash records in your resource, use the --soft delete flag when generating the resource. PHP Artisan make Filament resource customers --soft delete Generating a view page. By default, only list, create, and edit pages are generated for your resource. If you would also like a view page, use the -- view flag. Please be able to make filament resource customer view. Specify a custom model namespace. By default, filament will assume that your model exists in the app models directory. You can pass a different namespace for the model using the -- model -- namespace flag. Please be able to make filament resource custom -- model namespace custom path models. In this example, the model should exist as custom path models customer. Please note the double backslashes in the command are required. Now, when generating the resource, filament will be able to locate the model and read the database schema. Generating the model, migration, and factory at the same time. If you would like to save time when scaffolding resources, filament can also generate the model, migration, and factory for the new resource at the same time using -- model, -- migration, and -- factory. I actually didn't know that. That's a pretty neat feature you can use. I didn't realize that because I probably should create the models first. I'm gonna use that command more. So PHP has a make filament resource customer -- model -- migration -- factory. Record titles. A record title attribute may be set for your resource, which is the name of the column on your model that can be used to identify it from others. For example, this could be a blog post title or a customer's name. Protect the static --string record attribute equal name. This is required for features like global search to work. Tip: you may specify the name of an eloquent accessor if just one column is inadequate at identifying a record. Resource forms. Resource classes contain a form method that is used to build the forms on the create and edit pages. By default, filament creates a form schema file for you, which is referenced in the form method. This is to keep your resource class clean and organized, otherwise it can get quite large. Use app filament resources customers schemas customer form. Use filament schemas public static function form schema $schema column schema return customer form configure schema. In the customer form class, you can also define the fields and layout of your form. Use filament forms components text input. Use filament schema public static function configure schema $schema column schema return $schema components text input make name required text input make email required. The components method is used to define the structure of your form. It is an array of fields and layout components in the order they should appear in your form. Check out the form doc for a guide on how to build with forms with filament. Tip: if you would prefer to define the form directly in the resource class, you can do so and delete the form schema class altogether. Use filament /form /form /components /text input. Use filament schema public static function form schema $schema column schema return $schema components text input make name required text input make email required. Hiding components based on the current operation. The hidden on method on form components allows you to dynamically hide fields based on the current page or action. In this example, we hide the password field on the edit page. Text input make password required, hidden on, operation edit. Alternatively, we have visible on shortcut method for only showing a field on one page or action. Use filament components text input, use filament support enums operation text input, make password required, visible on, operation create. Resources table. Resources classes contain a table method that is used to build the table onto this page. By default, filament creates a table file for you, which is referenced in the table method. This is to keep your resource class clean and organized, otherwise it can get quite large. Use apps /filaments /resources /customers /tables /customers table. Use filament /tables /table. Public static function table $table, column table. Return customers table, configure table. In the customer table class, you can define columns, filters, and actions of the table. Alright, let's go through a bit more on this page, and then I think I'm gonna try to have like at least a 5-10 minutes break every hour if I'm gonna do this for multiple hours. Also just to top up on water so I don't forget to stay hydrated. In the customers table class, you can define the columns, filters, and actions of the table. Use filament /actions bulk action group. Use filament /actions delete bulk action. Use filament actions /edit action. Use filament tables columns /text column. Use filament tables filters filter. Use filament tables table. Use Illuminati database eloquent builder. Public static function configure table $table column table. Return $table columns, text column make name, text column make email. Filters filter make verified, query fn builder, query where not null, email verified at. Record actions, edit action make, toolbar actions, build action group make, delete bulk action make. Check out the table docs to find out how to add table columns, filters, and actions, and more. Tip: if you would prefer to define the tables directly in the resource class, you can do so and delete the table class altogether. Use filament actions bulk action group. Use filament actions delete bulk action. Use filament actions edit action. Use filament tables columns text column. Use filament tables filters filter. Use filament tables table. Use Illuminati database eloquent builder. Public static function table $table return table columns, text column make name, text column make email, filter make verified, query if and builder, query builder, query where not null, email verified add, edit action, record actions, edit action, toolbar actions, bulk action group, delete bulk action make. Alright, I think it's time for a quick break and I'll be back in 5 to 10 minutes or less. Alright, we're back. So, customizing the model label. Each resource has a model label, which is automatically generated from the model name. For example, an app model customer model will have a customer label. The label is used in several parts of the UI, and you may customize it using the model label property. Protect the static string model label client. Alternatively, you may use the get model label to define a dynamic label. Public static function get model label string return on the dash filament resources customer dot label. Customizing the pro model label. Resources also have a pro model label, which is automatically generated from the model label. For example, a customer label will be pluralized into customers. You may customize the pro version of the label using the pro model label property, protect the static string pro model label. Alternatively, you may set a dynamic one. Alternatively, you may set a dynamic label get pro model label method, public static function get pro model label string return underscore filament resources customer dot plural underscore label. Automatic model label capitalization. By default, Filament will automatically capitalize each word in the model label for some parts of the UI. For example, in the page titles, the navigation menu, and the breadcrumbs. If you want to disable this behavior for resource, you can set has title case model label in link in the resource. Protect the static bool has title case model link equals false. Resource navigation items. Filament will automatically generate the navigation menu item for your resource using the plural label. If you would like to customize the navigation item label, you may use the navigation label property. Protect the static string navigation label misclients. Alternatively, you may set a dynamic navigation label in the get navigation label method. Public static function get navigation label string return filament resources customer navigation label. Setting a resource navigation icon. The navigation icon property supports the name of any blade component by default. Hero icons are installed, however, you may create your own custom icon components or install an alternative library if you wish. Use backed enums. Protect the static string backed enums null navigation icon hero icon O user group. Alternatively, you may set dynamic navigation icon in the get navigation icon method. Use backed enum. Use Illuminati contrast support HTML. Public static function get navigation icon string backed enum HTML no. Return hero icon O user group. Sorting resource navigation items. Navigation sort property allows you to specify the order in which navigation items are listed. Protect the static and navigation sort equals 2. Alternatively, you may set a dynamic navigation item in the order get navigation sort method. Public static function get navigation sort and return to. Grouping a resource navigation items. You may group navigation items by specifying navigation group property. Use unit enum. Protect the static string unit enum null navigation group shop. Alternatively, you may use the get navigation group method to set a dynamic group label. Public static function get navigation group string return filament navigation dot groups to shop. Grouping resource navigation items under other items. You may group navigation items as children of other items by passing the label of the parent item as the navigation parent item. Use unit enum. Protect the static string navigation parent item products. Protect the static string unit enum null navigation group shop. As seen above, if the parent has a navigation group must also be defined so the correct parent item can be identified. You may use the get navigation parent item method to set a dynamic parent item label. Public static function get navigation parent item string term filament / navigation groups shop items products. Tip: if you're reaching for third level navigation like this, you should consider using clusters instead, which are a logical grouping of a resource under and custom pages which can share their own separate navigation. Generating URLs to share resource pages. Filament provides getURL static method on resource classes to generate URLs to resources and specific pages within them. Traditionally, you would need to construct the URL by hand or by using Laravel's root helper, but these methods depend on knowledge of the resource slug or root naming conventions. The getURL method without any arguments will generate a URL to the resource list page. Use filament resources customer resource getURL. You may also generate URLs to specific pages within the resource. Name of each page is the array key in the get pages array of the resource, for example, to generate a URL to the create page. Use filament resource customer resource get URL create dash admin customers create. Some pages in the get pages method use URL parameters like record to generate a URL to these pages and pass in a record. You should use the second argument. Use app /filament /resources /customers /customer resource. Customer resource get URL edit record customer, and that would return admin customer edit 1. In this example, customer can be an Eloquent model object or an ID. Generating URLs to resource models. This can be especially useful if you're using sample resources with only one page. To generate a URL for an action in the resource table, you should pass the table action and table action record as the URL parameters. Use filament resources customer resource. Use filament actions edit action customer resource get URL parameters table action edit action get default name table action record customer. That will return customers table action edit and table action record 1. Or if you want to generate a URL for an action page, like create action in the header, you can pass it into the action parameter. Use filament resources customer resource. Use filament actions create action customer resource get URL parameters action create action get default name. It will return customers action equal create. Generating URLs to resources in other panels. If you have multiple panels in your app, getURL will generate a URL within the current panel. You can also indicate which panel the resource is associated with by passing the panel ID to the panel argument. Use filament resources customer resource getURL panel marketing. Customizing the resource Eloquent query. Within the filament, every query to your resource model will start with the get Eloquent query method. Because of this, it's very easy to apply your own query constraints of model scopes that affect the entire resource. Public static function get Eloquent query builder return parent get Eloquent query where is active equals true. Disabling global scopes. By default, Filament will observe all global scopes that are registered to your model. However, this may not be ideal if you wish, for example, soft delete records. To overcome this, you may override the get Eloquent query method that Filament uses. Public static function get Eloquent query builder return parent get Eloquent query without global scopes. Alternatively, you may remove specific global scopes. Public static function get Eloquent query builder return parent get Eloquent query get eloquent query without global scopes, active scope class. More information about removing global scopes may be found in the Lava documentation. Customizing the resource URL. By default, Filament will generate a URL based on the name of the resource. You can customize this by setting the slug property on the resource. Protected static string slug equal pending orders. Resource subnavigation. Subnavigation allows users to navigate between different pages within a resource. Typically, all pages in the subnavigation will be related to the same record in the resource. For example, in a customer's resource, you may have a subnavigation with the following pages. View customer, a view record page that provides a read-only view of the customer details. Edit customer, and edit record page that allows the user to edit the customer's details. Edit customer contact and edit record page that allows the user to edit the customer's contact details. You can learn how to create more than one edit page. Manage addresses, and manage related records page that allows the user to manage the customer addresses. Manage payments, and manage related records page that allows the user to manage the customer payments. To add a subnavigation to each singular record page in the resource, you can add the get record subnavigation method to the resource class. Use filament resources page. Public static function get record subnavigation page array, return page, generate navigation items, view customer class, edit customer contact, and it contains manage customer address, manage customer payments class. Almost done with this page. This is probably one of the longest, I think. Each item in the subnavigation can be customized using the same navigation methods as normal pages. Tip: if you're looking to add subnavigation to switch between an entire resource and custom pages, you might be looking for clusters, which are used to group these together. The get record subnavigation method is intended to construct a navigation between pages that relate to a particular record inside a resource. The subnavigation is rendered at the start of the page by default. You may change the position for all pages in the resource by setting the subnavigation position property on the resource. The value may be subnavigation position start, subnavigation position end, subnavigation position top to render the subnavigation as tabs. Use filament pages enum subnavigation position, protected static subnavigation positions, dollar subnavigation position equals subnavigation position end. Deleting resources pages. If you like to delete a resource, if you would like to delete a page from your resource, you can just delete the page file from the pages directory of your resource and this entry in the get pages method. For example, you may have a resource with records that may not be created by anyone. Delete the create page file and then remove it from get pages. Public static function get pages array, return index list customers root, edit customer root record edit. Welcome to everyone that's joined the stream. I hope you enjoy me being enlightened by reading the entire filament documentation, which is probably going to take multiple live streams at this rate. Deleting a page will not delete any actions that link to that page. Any actions will open a model instead, sending the user to a non-existing page. For instance, the create action on the list page, the edit action on the table view or view page, or the view action on the table page or edit page. If you want to remove those buttons, you must delete the actions as well. Security. Authorization. For authorization, Filament will observe any model policies that are registered in your app. The following methods are used. View any is used to completely hide resources from a navigation menu and prevents the user from accessing any page. Create is used to control creating new records. Update is used to control editing a new editing a record. View is used to control viewing a record. Delete is used to prevent a single record from being deleted. Delete any is used to prevent records from being bulk deleted. Filament uses the delete any method because iterating through multiple records and checking the delete policy is not very performant. When using a delete bulk action, if you want to call the delete method for each record anyway, you should use the delete bulk action method authorize individual records method. Any record that failed the authorization check will not be processed. Force delete is used to prevent a single soft delete record from being force deleted. Force delete any is used to prevent records from being bulk force deleted. Filament uses the force delete any method, iterating through multiple records and checking the force delete method for each record anyway. You should use the force delete bulk action make authorized individual records method. Any records that fail into authorization check will not be processed. Restore is used to prevent a single soft delete record from being restored. Restore any is used to prevent records from being bulk restored. Filament uses the restore any method because iterating through multiple records and checking the restore policy is not very performant. When using a restore bulk action, if you want to call the restore method for each record anyway, you should use the restore bulk action authorize individual records method. Any records that fail the authorization check will not be processed. Reorder is used to control reordering records in the table. Skipping authorization. If you like to skip authorization for resource, you may set the should skip authorization property to true. Protect static bool should skip authorization equal true. Protected model attributes. Filament will expose all model attributes to JavaScript except if they are hidden on your model. This is likewise behavior for model binding. We preserve the functionality to facilitate the dynamic addition and removal of form fields after they are initially loaded while preserving the data they may need. Note, while attributes may be visible in JavaScript, only those with a form field are actually editable by the user. This is not an issue with mass assignment. To remove attributes from JavaScript on the edit and view page, you may override the mutate form data before fill method, protect the function mutate data before fill, array unset data is admin, return data. In this example, we remove the isAdmin attribute from JavaScript as it's not being used by the form. Alright. So, yeah, we got the whole resources section to go through still. It's a long documentation, and Dan and Alex and others have put a lot of hard work into building Filament and documenting the massive amount of functionalities in it. So a shout out to the Filament core team. They've done an amazing work on it. Listing records. Using tabs to filter the records. You can add the tabs above the table, which can be used to filter the records based on some predefined conditions. Each tab can scope the eloquent query of the table in a different way to register tabs, add a get tab method to the list page class, and return an array of tab objects. Use Filament schemas components tabs tab. Use Illuminati database eloquent builder, public function get tabs array, return all tab make, active tab make, modify query using fn builder query where active true, inactive tab make, modify query using builder query where active is false. Customizing the filtered tab levels. The keys of the array will be used as identifiers for the tabs, so they can be persisted in the URL's query string. The label of each tab is also generated from the key, but you can override that by passing into the make method of the tab. Use filament schemas components tab. Use Illuminated database eloquent builder. Public function get tabs array where we return all customer and active customers using active with true and inactive one by inactive is false. Adding icons to filter tabs. You can add icons to the tabs by passing an icon into the icon method of the tab. Use filament schemas components tab make icon hero icon M user group. You can also change the icon position to be after the label instead of before it using the icon position method. Use filament support enums icon position tab make icon hero icon M user group icon position after. Adding badges to filter tabs. You can add badges to the tabs by passing a string into the badge method of the tab. Use filament schemas tab make badge customer query while active true count. Change the color of filter tab badges. The color of a badge may be changed using the badge color method. Use filament schema components tab make badge customer query where active is true count. Badge color is success, so that will be a green color. Adding extra attributes to filter tabs. You may pass extra HTML attributes to filter tabs using extra attributes. So tab make extra attribute data CI statement confirm tab. Customizing the default tab. To customize the default tab that is selected when the page is loaded, you can return the array key of the tab from the get default active method. Use filament schemas components tab. Public function get tabs array return all tabs, active tabs, inactive tab. Public function get default active tabs can take in a string int or null, return active. Authorization. For authorization, Filament will observe any model policies that are registered in your app. Users may access the list pages, view any method of the model policy returns true. The reorder method is used to control reordering a record. Customizing the table eloquent query. Although you can customize the eloquent query for the entire resource, you may also make specific modifications for the list page. To do this, use the modify query using method in the table method of the resource. Use filament tables table, use filament Illuminated database eloquent builder, and we have a table in here. With table, return table, modify using fn builder, so query without global scopes. Custom page events. Each page in Filament has its own schema, which defines its overall structure and content. You can override the schema for the page by defining a content method on it. The content method for the list page contains the following components by default. Use filament schemas components embedded table. Use filament schemas components render hook. Use filament schema. Public function create schema $schema, and we return schema components. This get tabs get tabs content component, render hook make panels render hook, resource page list records table before, embedded table make, render hook make panels render hook resource page list records table after. Inside the components array, you can insert any schema component. You can reorder the components by changing the order of the array or remove any of the components that are not needed using a custom blade view. For further customization opportunities, you can override the static view property on the page class to custom view in your app. Protect the string filament resources users, pages list users. This assumes that you have created a view at the following URL, which is resources view filament resources users page list users display the PHP, and then X filament panels page, and we have this content. Alright, I think after having gone through an hour and a half of the documentation so far, it's fair to say that we've only gotten this far. I think when Claude asked Claude this week to estimate how long it would take to read the entire documentation, I think it's underestimated it. 8 to 12 hours may be a little bit short because we're an hour and a half in and we still got all of these to go through. I think it's more closer to be 16 to 20 hours, which would mean multiple live streams over the next few weeks. But we will see how far it takes us. Resources, creating records, customizing the data before saving. Sometimes you may wish to modify form data before it is finally saved to the database. To do this, you may define a mutated form data before create method on the page create page class, which accesses the data as an array and returns the modified version. Protected function mutate form data before create, array data, and use ID set to off use ID, return the data. Alternatively, creating records in a model action, check out the action documentation. You can treat the record is created using the handle record creation method on the create page class. Use Illuminator database eloquent model, protected function handle record creation array data model, return static get model create data. Alternatively, you're creating models in a model action, check out the action documentation. Customizing redirects. By default, after saving the form, the user will be redirected to the edit page of the resource or the view page if it is present. You may set up a custom redirect when the form is saved by using overriding get redirect URL method on the create page class. For example, the form can redirect back to the list page. Protected function get redirect URL, and then we return this get resource get URL index. If you wish to redirect back to the previous page, else the index page, protected function get redirect URL, return this previous URL, this get resource get URL index. You can also use the configuration to customize the default redirect page for all resources at once. Use filament panel, public function panel, dollar panel, return panel, resource create page redirect, resource create page redirect view, resource create page redirect edit. Customizing the save notification. When the record is successfully created, a notification is dispatched to the user which indicates the success of the action. To customize the title of this notification, define a get created notification title method on the create page class. Protected function get created notification title string return user registered. Alternatively, you're creating a record in model action, check out the action documentation. You may customize the entire notifications by overriding the get created notification method on the create page class. Use filament notification. Protect the function get created notification at column question mark notification. Return notification make success, title user registered, body the user has been created successfully. To disable the notification altogether, return null from the get created notification method on the create page class. Use filament notification. Protect the function get created notification question mark notification return null. Creating another record. Disabling create another record. To disable the create and create another feature, define the can create another property as files on the create page class. Protect the static bool can create another equals false. If alternatively you would like to specify a dynamic condition when the feature is disabled, you may override the can create another method on the create page class. Public function can create another bool return false, preserving data when creating another. By default, when the user creates and create another feature along the form, data is cleared so the user can start fresh. If you would like to preserve some of the data in the form, you may override the preserve form data when creating another method on the create page class and return the past part of the data array that you would like to keep. Use similar to support array. Protect the function preserve form data when creating another array data array return array only data is admin organization. To preserve all the data, return the entire data array. Protect the function preserve form data when creating another array data return data. Lifecycle hooks. Hooks may be used to execute code at various points within the page lifecycle, like before a form is saved. To set up a hook, create a projected method on the create page class with the same name of the hook. Protect the function before create. In this example, the code before create method will be called before the form data is saved to the database. There are several available hooks for the create page. So we have the import of create record, create user, and extends create record. You can have the before fill, after fill, before validate, after validate, before create, and after create. For the before fill, it runs before the form fields are populated with the new default values. For after fill, runs after the form fields are populated with the default values. For before validate, it runs before the form fields are validated with the form is submitted. Runs after the form on after validate. After validate runs after the form fields are validated when the form is submitted. Before create runs before the form fields are saved to the database. After create runs after the form fields are saved to the database. Alternatively, if you're creating records in a model action, check out the actions documentation. Halting the creation process. At any time you may call this halt from an inside a life cycle hook or mutation method which will halt the entire creation process. Use filament actions action, use filament notification, protected function before create, and then the safety method here is void if not authenticated, team subscribe, notification make, warning, title, you don't have an active subscription, body choose a plan to continue, persistent actions make subscribe button URL root subscribe should open a new tab true. Send this halt. Alternatively, if you're creating a records and model action, check out the actions documentation. Authorization. For authorization, Filament will observe any model policies that are registered in your app. Users may access the create page if the create method of the model policy returns true, using a wizard. You may easily transform the creation process into multi-step wizard. On the page class, add the corresponding hash wizard trait. So we use filament resources categories, category resource, we use filament resource pages, create record, and then we have a class with create category that extends create record, used to create record concerns has wizard, protected static string resource category resource, protected function get steps array. Inside the get steps array, return your wizard steps. Use markdown insert text input toggle from the components folders, wizard step, and then we have the get steps function where we have step make name with a description of give the category a clear and unique name, text with inside the step the schema has text input name, required life after state hydrate, fn state callable set slug to the slug field. This will essentially automatically pre-fill the slug field when you enter the name. Text input make slug, disable required unique category class slug, fn record. Step make description add some extra details, schema markdown editor make description column span full. Step make visibility description control who can view it. Schema toggle make it is visible, label visible to customers, default true. Let me know in the comments what you have learned from listening to me reading the entire filament documentation so far. We're still only on the resources one, so I won't be able to finish it all today, I think, but we will try to get through as much as we can. Alternatively, if creating record in a model action, check out the actions documentation. Now create a record to see if your wizard in action. Edit will still use form defined within the resource class. If you'd like to allow free navigation so all the steps are skippable, override the has skippable steps. Public function has skippable steps. Boom. Return true. Sharing fields between the form schema and wizards. Sharing fields between the form schema and wizards. If you'd like to reduce the amount of repetition between the resources form and wizard step, it's a good idea to extract public static form functions for your fields where you can easily retrieve an instance of a field from the form schema or the wizard. Use filament forms, use filament schema, class category forms. So what we're doing here is essentially returning a schema inside this configure function where we have components static get name form field and static get slug form field. Get name form field, which returns the text input. With text input required is set the slug by default and has the name in here. Get slug form field forms component text input make a disable slug required category class and then unique to the category. And then in here we have a create category resource, a record with category form and create record, and we have the has wizard trait with category resource, get steps, return step, and make name description, give the category a clear and unique name, schema category form, get name form field, get category form, get slug form field. Importing resource records. Importing resource records. Filament includes an import action that you can add to the get header action of the list page. It allows users to upload a CSV of data to import into the resource. Use add filament imports product importer. Use filament actions protected get header actions array return actions import action importer product importer actions create action make. The importer class needs to be created to tell Filament how to import each row of the CSV. You can learn everything about the import action and actions documentation. Custom actions. Actions are buttons that are displayed on pages which allow the user to run live-fire method on the page or visit a URL. On resource pages, actions are usually in two places, in the top right of the page and below the form. For example, you may add a new button action in the header of the create page. Use app filament imports user importer, use filament actions, and then we use create record, class create user, extends create record, protected function get header actions, array, return, action import, action make, use importer, user importer class. Or a new button next to create below the form. And then we import action, create record, create user extending record, protect form action, parent get form action, make, close, action, create and close, public function create and close, void, and to view the entire actions API, visit the page section. Adding a create action button to the header. The create button can be removed to the header of the page by overriding get header actions method and using the create form action. You need to pass form ID to the action to specify that the action should be submit the form with the ID of the form, which is the form ID used in the view of the page. Protected function get header actions array return. This get create form action form ID form. You may remove all actions from the form by overriding the get form actions method to return an empty array. Protected function get form actions array. Custom page content. Each page in Filament has its own schema which defines the overall structure and content. You can override the schema for the page by defining content method on it. The content method for the create page contains the following components by default. It has a schema imported, public function content schema, return schema, components this get form content component. This method returns a component to display the form that is defined in this resource. Inside the components array, you can insert any schema component. You can reorder the components by changing the order of the array or remove any of the components that are not needed. Using a custom blade view. For further customization opportunities, you can override the static view property on the page class to a custom view in your app. Protected string view Filament resources uses page create user. This assumes that you have created a view at resources Filament resources uses page create user.blade.php x filament panels page this content. And we have the editing one, and then we have viewing one as well, deleting, managing. Yeah, managing relationships is probably going to be one of the longest one, but obviously the next one is going to be editing. I'm just trying to see how much there's actually left on these. Alright, so let's go back into editing record. So it won't be long before I will take another break. Probably a tiny bit longer one, this one, because I need to also have something to eat, and I think I'll continue on for another hour or two after that, and I'll probably then go and read more documentation another day. Editing records. Customizing data before filling the form. You may wish to modify the data from a record before it's filled into the form. To do this, you may define a mutate form data before fill method on the edit page class to modify the data array and return the modified version before it is filled into the form. Protected function mutate form data before fill, array data, data use ID of ID, return data. Alternative, you're editing records in the model action, check out the actions documentation. A lot of this is very similar to the edit to the create action, because there's probably going to be some repetition in here. Just a heads up. So this isn't necessarily the most is more repetition in this case, because it's just going through the different records, but some of them have similar features that's used in a similar way. Just putting a poll out there. So I'm just wondering, how long do you reckon it will take now, given I've almost been going on for 2 hours? 3 hours, or 24 hours, or 20 hours, 12 hours, or 18 hours? I would like to know. Let me know how long you think it could take me to go through this entire documentation. Customizing data before saving. Sometimes you may wish to modify the form data before it's finally saved to the database. To do this, you may define a mutate form data before save method on this edit page class, which accepts the data as an array and returns it modified. Protect the mutate form data before save. Array data last edited by ID of ID return data. Alternative, if you're editing a record in a model action, check out actions documentation. Customizing the saving process. You can tweak how the record is updated using the handle record update method on the edit page class. Use Illuminati database current model. Handle record update model record array data. Record update data. Return record. Alternative, if you're editing a record in a model action, check out action documentation. Customizing redirects. By default, saving the form will not redirect the user to another page. You may set up a custom class redirect when the form is saved by overriding the getRedirectURL method to the edit page class. For example, the form can redirect back to the list pages of the resource. Protect the function getRedirectURL. Return this response getURL index or the view page. Protect the function getRedirectURL. Return this getResource getURL view record this getRecord. If you wish to be redirected on the previous page, else the index page, return this previous URL getResource getURL index. You can also use the configurations to customize the default redirect page for all resources at once. Public function panel, redirect edit page redirect index, or redirect edit page redirect view. Customizing the save notification. When the record is successfully updated, a notification is dispatched to the user which indicates the success of their action. To customize the title of this notification, define a getSaved notification title method on the edit class. And we just have getSaved notification title return user updated. And I think I'm gonna take a break now, and we will resume in up to 15 minutes. I'm gonna have some food and that just quickly. So let's see you guys in a bit. Alright, I'm back. Alternatively, if you're editing records in a model action, check out actions documentation. You may customize the entire notification by overriding the getSaved notification method on the edit page class. Use filament action notification protected function getSaved notification return notification make success title user updated to body the user has been saved successfully. To disable notifications altogether, return null from the getSaved notification method on the edit page class. Use filament notification protected function getSaved notification return notification return null. Lifecycle hooks. Hooks may be used to execute at various points within a page lifecycle, like before form is saved. To set up a hook, create a protected method on the edit page class with the name of the hook. Protected function before save. In this example, the code in the before save method will be called before the data in the form is saved to the database. There are several available hooks for the edit pages. We have before fill, which runs before any form fields are populated. After fill, which runs after the form fields are populated. Before validate, before they validated. After validate, and before save and after save. Alternatively, if you're editing records in a model action, check out the actions documentation. Saving part of the form independently. You may want to allow the user to save part of the form independently of the rest of the form. One way to do this is with the section action in the header or footer. From the action method, you can call save form component only, passing in the section component that you want to save. Use filament actions action, use filament notification, use filament resources page edit record. Use filament schemas component section make rate limiting schema, footer action event string operation action make save action function section component edit record livewire save form component only, notification make title rate limiting save body the rate limiting settings have been successfully saved, success sound visible operation equal edit. The operation helper is available to ensure the action is only visible when the form is being edited. Halting the saving process. At any time you may call this halt from inside a lifecycle hook or mutation method, which will halt the entire saving process. Use filament actions action, use filament notification, and then before save if the record does not exist with the thing subscribe. Notification make warning title. You don't have access to subscription. Choose a plan to continue. Persistent actions. Action make subscribe button URL root. Subscribe should open a new tab. Send this halt. Alternatively, if you're editing a record in a model action, check out the actions documentation. Authorization. For filament. If authorization filament will observe any model policies that are registered in your app, users may access the edit page if the update method of the model policy returns true. They may also have the ability to delete the record if the delete method of the policy returns true. Custom actions. Actions are buttons that are displayed on the page, which allows the user to run a livewire method on the page or visit a URL. On a resources page, actions are usually in two places, the top right of the page and below the form. For example, you may add a new button action next to delete on edit page. Protected get header function, action make impersonate, action void, action delete, action make, or a new button next to save below the form. Edit user, which stands edit record, which is imported there, and action. We get the parent get form actions, action make class, action save and close, and then we have a save and close function that you can fill out. To view the entire actions API, please visit the pages action, adding a save action button to the header. The save button can be added to the header by overriding get header actions method and using get save form actions. You need to pass form ID to the action to specify the action should submit the form with the ID of form, which is the form ID used in the view of the page. Protective function get header actions, return this get save form action, form ID. You may remove all action from the form by overriding the get form actions method to return an empty array. Protected function get form actions return empty array. Create another edit page. On one edit page may not be enough space to allow users to navigate many form fields. You can create as many edit pages for resource as you want. This is especially useful if you are using resource sub navigation, as you are then easily able to switch between the different edit pages. To create an edit page, you should use the make filament page. Sorry about that, just a quick interruption. PHP Artisan, make filament page, edit customer contact, resource, customer resource, and type edit record. You must register the new page in your resources page get pages method. Public static function get pages, array, return, and then we have index, pages, list, customer, root, pages, create, customer, root, create, view, pages, view, customer, root, record. Edit pages, edit customer, root, record, edit contact, pages, edit customer, contact, record, edit contact. Now you can define the form for the page, which can contain other fields that are not present on the main edit page. Use filament schema, public function form schema, form schema components, adding edit pages to the resource sub-navigation. If you're using resource sub-navigation, you can register this page as a normal get record sub-navigation of the resource. Use app filament resource customer pages, use filament resources pages page, public static function get record sub-navigation page, return page, generate navigation items, pages, edit customer contact class. Custom page content. Each page in Filament has its own schema which defines the overall structure and content. You can override the schema for the page by defining a content method on it. The content method for the edit page contains the following components by default. Use Filament schema, public function content schema, returns schema components, this get form component, this get relation manages content component, this method returns a component to display the relations manager defined in this resource, and the one content component returns a component to display the form list that is defined in this resource. Inside the components array, you can insert the schema component. You can reorder the components by changing the order of the array or remove any of the components that are not needed. Using a custom blade view. For further customization opportunities, you can override the static view property on the page class to a custom view in your app. Protect the string view filament resources users page edit user. This assumes that you have created a view add resources views filament resource. users pages, edit user.blade.php, xFilament panels page, and then there's this record will return the current record for the page, and then this will render the content of the page defined in the content method, which can be removed if you want to start from scratch. Viewing records, creating a resource with a view page. To create a new resource with a view page, you can use the -- view flag. PHP to make filament resource use a view, use an info list instead of a disable form. By default, the view page will display form with the records data. If you're so we have use filament info list, use filament schema, public static function info list schema, return schema components info list components, text entry make name, text entry make email, text entry make notes, columns, spans fulls, and take out the full space. The components method is used to define the structure of your info list. It is an array of entries and layout components in the order they should appear in your info list. Check out the info list docs for a guide on how to build info list with filament. Adding a view page to an existing resource. If you want to add a view page to an existing resource, create a new page in your resource pages directory. PHP make filament page view user resource equals user resource type equal view record. You must register this new page in your user's resource in your resource get pages method. Public static function get pages. Return index pages list user root / create user root create, and then we have the view user with the root record, and then we have the edit user root record edit. Viewing records and models. If your resource is in a simple, you may wish to view records in models rather than the view page. If this is the case, you can just delete the view page. If your resource doesn't contain a view action, you can add one to the table record actions array. So we have a table here with columns that's empty, and then record actions, view action may. Customizing the data before filling the form. You may wish to modify the data from a record before it's filled in the form. To do this, you may define a mutate form data before fill method on the view page class to modify the data array and return the modified version before it is filled into the form. Protect this function mutate form data before fill array data array data use ID of use ID return data. Alternatively, if you're viewing a record in a model action, check out the actions documentation. Lifecycle hooks. Hooks may be used to execute code at various points within a page lifecycle, like before a form is filled. To set up a hook, create a protected method on the view page class with the name of the hook. And then we import the view record. Class view user extends view record, protected function before fill void, protected function after fill void, and these runs after and before fill. Authorization wise, filament. For authorization, filament will observe any model policies that are registered in your app. Users may access the view page if the view method of the model policy returns true. Creating another view page. One view page may not be enough space to allow users to navigate a lot of information. You can create as many view pages for resources as you want. This is especially useful if you are using resource sub-navigation, as you are then easily able to switch between the different view pages. To create a view page, you should use the make filament page command. PHP make filament page, view customer contact, resource customer resource type view record. You must register the new page in your resource get pages method, and we have the list customer, create customer, view customer contact, edit customer, and these are just URLs for them. Now you can define the info list or form for this page, which can contain other components that are not present on the main view page. We have the schema in here, and we can have the components in this here. Customizing relation managers for the specific view page. You can specify which relation manager should appear on a view page by defining a get all relation managers method. Protect the function get all relation managers. Return customer address relation manager class, customer contact relation manager. This is useful when you have multiple views pages and need different relation managers on each page. Protect the function get all relation managers. Return relation managers orders get relation manager description relation manager, and then in the view customer contact .php file we can have get all relation managers with the contact relation manager and the address relation manager. If get all relation managers isn't defined, any relation manager defined in the resource will be used. Adding a view pages to resource sub-navigation. If you're using resource sub-navigation, you can register this page as normal and get record sub-navigation of the resource. Use pages and page 1, get record sub-navigation page, and then we have get navigation items, page view customer contact. Custom page content. Each page in Filament has its own schema which defines the overall structure and content. You can override the schema for the page by defining a content method on it. The content method for view page contains the following components by default. Use Filament schema, public function content schema, and then we have this has info list, and if that's true we get info list component, if that's not true we get form content component, this get relation manager component. And then inside components array you can insert any schema component. You can reorder the components by changing the order of the array or remove any of the components that are not needed. Using a custom blade view. For further customization opportunities you can override the static view property on the page class to custom view in your app. So we can do protect the string view filament resources uses page view user, and then we can have this panels page here where we can have the content in. Alright, so far so good. Halfway through the resources section, which is not even very far in the documentation. Wow. I'm at it, by the way, because you've spent so much time in this live stream, some of you, and watching in on it. I'm gonna on live stream create a Filament doc read promo that you can get. Where I will give you guys 50% off, and it will end tomorrow. So this is just for people who are basically live, for only 20 people, and let's create it. So now if you use this promo on, actually I'll just send the whole link, that'll probably be quicker. You get 50% off of any of the free plans on the website. So you can use this link below, which will give you 50% off, and it's only available for the next few hours. So as a thank you for following along on the stream. Now back to Filament. So let's go back to the docs. Deleting records, handling soft delete. Creating a resource with a soft delete. By default, you will not be able to interact with deleted records in your app. in the app. If you would like to add functionality to restore, force delete, and filter trash records in your resource, use the --soft deletes flag when generating the resource. Please be asked to make filament resource customer soft deletes. Adding soft deletes to an existing resource. Alternatively, you may add soft deleting functionality to an existing resource. Firstly, you must update the resource. So we have bulk action, delete bulk action, force delete bulk action, force delete action, restore bulk action, trash filter, table builder, soft deleting scope. We have the whole table here with the columns, trash filter, record actions, delete action, force delete action, restore action, toolbar actions, bulk action group, delete bulk action, force delete bulk action, restore bulk action. And then we have public static function, get record root binding eloquent query builder, return get record root binding eloquent query. And then we have soft deleting scope class. Now update the edit page class if you have one. Use filament actions, get header actions, action delete action, force delete action, and restore action. Then deleting records on the list page. By default, you can bulk delete records in your table. You may also wish to delete a single record using a delete action. Use filament actions, delete actions, use filament tables table. Public static function table returns table with a column, record action, delete action. Authorization. For authorization, filament will upset any model policy that registered in your app. Users may delete records if the delete method of the model policy returns true. They also have the ability to bulk delete the records if the delete any method of the policy returns true. Filament uses delete any method because it is iterating through multiple records and checking the delete policy is not very performant. You can use the authorize individual records method on the bulk delete action to check the delete policy for each record individually. Authorizing soft deletes. The force delete policy is used to prevent a single soft deleted record from being force deleted. Force delete any is used to prevent records from being bulk force deleted. Filament uses the force delete any method because iterating through multiple records and checking the force delete policy is not very performant. The restore policy method is used to prevent any single soft deleted record from being restored. Restore any is used to prevent records from being bulk restored. Filament uses the restore any method because iterating through multiple records and checking the restore policy is not very performant. And then managing relationship, which is a massive one to go over. I think this may be a good one to stop on as well. It's quite a long live stream, this one, and I think this is something I'm gonna have to do over multiple live streams. So I will try to do at least one a week, if not 2 a week. And we will see where that goes to. So thank you very much for watching my stream for over 2 hours. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.